мая и по 8 часов утра сегодняшнего дня, 23 мая, украинская сторона.
Starting from May 20th and up to 8 a.m. today, May 23rd, the Ukrainian side launched a record number of combat drones, 788, against civilian targets and peaceful citizens of the Russian Federation. All attacks were repelled, although unfortunately there are casualties and injuries. We issued a special statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs regarding this matter. It is being widely disseminated among states and international organizations. We believe such behavior is a direct result of the support for Ukrainian Nazis, primarily from certain European countries led by Britain, France, and Germany, as well as the leadership of the European Union. We are convinced they bear their share of responsibility for these crimes. We will firmly seek to put an end to this policy. There is a clear attempt to disrupt peace negotiations and undermine the process that was initiated in Istanbul following agreements between President Putin and President Trump, which primarily involved a prisoner exchange, thousands for thousands, and the continuation of work on documents that would outline specific conditions and requirements necessary for reaching agreements. We will continue this work despite any provocations. Sergey Viktorovich, will Russia continue to seek a peaceful resolution?
Мы остаемся привержены мирному урегулированию.
We remain committed to a peaceful resolution. We are always open to negotiations. President Putin has repeatedly confirmed this publicly and in talks with foreign leaders. But I draw your attention to the fact that all gestures of goodwill we made, including ceasefires during Orthodox Easter, Victory Day, and a one-month moratorium on attacks against energy infrastructure announced after the conversation between Presidents Putin and Trump, were honored by us and consistently broken by Ukraine, which continued its aggressive and criminal actions during the pauses we declared in combat operations. We again emphasize our commitment to the agreements recently reached in Istanbul between the delegations of Russia and Ukraine. We are completing our preparatory work on a list for the prisoner exchange based on the thousands for thousands principle. We are actively working on the second part of the agreements, which provide for the preparation of draft documents by each side, laying out the terms for a sustainable, long-term, and comprehensive settlement. Once the prisoner exchange is complete, we will be ready to present our draft document to the Ukrainian side. You stated that international organizations would be informed about the Foreign Ministry's statement. What reaction do you expect from them? I expect a reaction based on the fundamental documents that guide the activities of the United Nations, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, and other multilateral bodies, which require the unconditional exclusion of attacks on civilian targets during military operations. This is also required by numerous conventions that define the principles of international humanitarian law, which have been consistently violated over the years by the Kyiv regime, ignoring globally accepted rules of warfare, and raising doubts about their ability to be a responsible member of the international community. We do expect a reaction, especially considering that comments from a UN Secretary-General and his spokespeople during the special military operation show a lack of willingness or ability to uphold their direct responsibilities, particularly adherence to the UN Charter. In recent weeks, a whole landing party of EU officials arrived in Kyiv: Macron, Starmer, Merz, Kalnity, and others. Following this, as if on cue, terrorist attacks by the Kyiv regime significantly increased. Do the curators of Zelensky bear responsibility for the deaths of civilians? I think it's impossible not to see this direct link. Those supporting the Kyiv regime, including the individuals you mentioned, do not hide their stance. It's no coincidence they hysterically oppose our efforts for peace through addressing the root causes of the conflict, while promoting immediate ceasefires without preconditions, because such wording allows them to continue arming the Kyiv regime. Their public statements clearly show this is a position they are not willing to abandon, thus fueling the conflict and emboldening Zelensky and his team to continue their criminal actions. So the European responsibility is clear. I believe that when the consequences of this conflict are assessed, hopefully after a resolution, it will be very difficult to escape accountability. Do you believe the Western European leaders are simply trying to undermine President Trump's efforts for peace mediation in the Ukraine crisis? Maybe they're jealous? I don't think it's about jealousy. They were just used to working with the previous U.S. administration, which led anti-Russian actions and encouraged European capitals to do the same. Now that the U.S. administration has changed, it's clear they were just more comfortable under Biden's administration. They wanted the entire Western bloc to stay united against Russia, aiming to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia on the battlefield. If we analyze the statements and actions of London, Paris, Berlin, Brussels, the Baltic capitals, and Warsaw, it becomes clear they cannot back down from this declared goal. They've staked their entire reputation on dragging Europe into war against Russia, using this pretext to militarize Europe. By 2030, massive funds are being allocated. Chancellor Merz declared that his goal is to make Germany once again the strongest military power in Europe, possessing the largest conventional army. These are very alarming signals, and historical precedents make this picture even more disturbing. Another explanation for their actions is that they haven't given up on the hope of using certain U.S. circles to pull Trump back into their anti-Russian camp, thus sharing the burden of responsibility with the U.S. They love to shift responsibility away from themselves, but I am confident they will not succeed this time.
В этот раз не получится.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.